Hello, welcome back to the Evolution with Mac and Jen podcast. We are so excited to be here today because it is our 100th episode. Yay, I'm so excited. And I'm really excited because Mac has not been here for the last three episodes. So if you are just tuning in, if this is your first time listening to us, my name is Jen, and I am sitting here with my current husband, Mac. And
Sure.
and we are so excited to be here today. And I just think that's so funny. What?
Okay.
Did you like that intro?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So
So,
can I just say something?
okay.
I have been waiting to do this with you, and I totally messed it up a little bit. But have you seen the things, the reels, the jokes where the girls are talking and they're like, and my current husband, and then
Mhm.
the husbands like will react and be like, current? You did do a reaction, but I've been waiting to do an intro with you just so I could call you my current husband to just see how you would react. And so yeah. So thanks for letting me do the intro.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, this is my current wife,
Hi, everybody.
the newest, latest version. Mm.
The best one. And the last one you will
The three personalities. Just joking.
Yep, I might be a different wife later. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Mm. Okay, so yeah,
Back to it.
yep, kind of to refresh a little bit on this being the 100th episode. I mean, we started doing this over 2 years ago, and just kind of did it to say, you know what, let's just get some content out there. Let's practice talking, getting in front of a camera. And so there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of repetitive stuff in what we say. But the reality is there's a hell of a lot of good content in the last 199 episodes of actually giving very, very high value information freely. And the people that have listened to it intently have gotten a lot of value out of it. The difference though between this value that we give freely on here and the value that the members get or the one-on-one clients get is the value that people see in it, because everything, like most of the stuff we say here is a lot of what we say in the membership. It's a lot of what we say in one-on-one, but it's just different. When you have a kind of a one-on-one connection with somebody, it just drives deeper, better, higher, faster results. So it's cool. It's been fun, but I don't know if what we'll do from here forward. I think we'll continue doing it, but with a little bit different structure. Like maybe finding people's comments or commentary or questions or um, challenges, and then kind of like going at that might be kind of fun too, along with maybe bringing some outside people in to it and interview style or even just conversation pieces.
Yes, I think it would be fun to explore ways to grow and our podcast and expand our just I don't know what the words are, but yes, to
Yep.
grow and expand in it
Change it up a little bit.
could be super fun. Who knows?
For sure.
Hmm.
Mm. So, what were you wanting to talk about today?
Oh.
I'm just joking. I know there was one thing that we had mentioned about asking, like, so most everything that we do currently, even though we address all the kind of areas of life that kind of look at the four quadrants. That's a big thing that we do, is saying like, where are you at in these quadrants? Which one needs to be elevated? How are you balancing them? Those different discussions, because you can excel greatly in one, but if you're not keeping the others kind of at an energetic balance to those other ones, then you're going to have failures and destructions and things like that. And so it doesn't mean they require a lot of time. It just means that you can't, it, we'll put it this way. Balance is not about the time put in. So you can't split your day, the 16 hours you're awake, into quarters, 4 hours each, and work on each area at that much time. That would actually be imbalance. But the energetic balance means that my vibrational frequency is matching my other quadrants in my life. And when my vibrational frequencies all match and I continue to raise them up, my manifesting ability is increased dramatically greater because you can create a like a let's say a financial frequency that's super high. Like you've got tons of money, you're a billionaire or whatever. But if your relationship frequency is way down here, you can't really manifest in the areas that are probably the most important, which would be relationship. And so you have to be able to raise these up. If your body is crap, then the others will also probably eventually be crap if they're not already.
Well, I think it's, for most people, I think they excel, like really put all their energy and focus into one thing,
Mhm.
right? And so they might have like a rocking body, or their business might be super successful, but you're like failing in all the other areas, right? And so I think for us, at least for me, and for I think for you too, it's like it's about like fulfillment and it
Mhm.
all, like not just crushing one area and not just crushing your business and our relationship suffering, or not just like crushing our body goals, but like everything else is suffering. I think we want to be high vibration in all areas so we can feel totally fulfilled in just all of life, like all of it, right?
Mhm.
And so that's why we've Mac is saying raising your vibration in all the areas, but focusing on it all rather than just like one, because you can be super successful in business, but if you're not successful in relationships, like where you're just not happy,
Mhm.
right? And so and it's about having it, truly having like it all, like a full abundant life in all areas. And we I like the wheel. You use like house pillars, remember? The four house pillars. I like the wheel, like a wheel analogy, where let's just say the four areas are your body, your business, your relationship, and your happiness or
Mhm.
your mindset, right? And let's just say like if one of those is off, or low, like if your relationship is suffering, or your business, like if the wheel becomes wobbly, and so as you're going down the road and going through life, you'd have a wobbly wheel, and it wouldn't be a smooth ride. And so the goal is to expand in all areas so you have a full abundant wheel that drives down the road of life smooth and easy.
Mhm.
Yes?
Yep. At that point, then you get to look out and enjoy the world versus looking in, trying to fix the problems.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I just made that up. But it's true. So, that's kind of
Yeah, well, hang on, because when you are full in all the areas and feeling good about, your body, your business, your relationship, you're growing in all the areas, then you are able to look out more and like
present.
looking out to like higher fulfillment things, like you're able to give your energy to others and contribute to others and help others, and create a more service, I want to say like service type life, or where you're like you are now full, so you're able to um
Experience more, do more.
give more, love more, create more. You're just able to contribute more.
There's more joy, happiness, and fulfillment.
I guess what I'm saying, like, I guess the word that's coming up for me is you are able to focus more on like your spiritual needs.
Hmm.
When you're full in all the areas, you're able to then step into, yes, like spiritual growth, if that makes sense. So it's
Hmm.
like once you get these good, then you can only look out and it continue to expand from there.
Yep. So that's what kind of a a brief overview of what we do, what we help people to move through, how to get there, the disciplines that we try to create to help people raise their vibration to manifest. So if somebody says, I want to manifest this. Okay, here's what you do. And that's what we show people what to do in the membership. And that's why they keep on winning and creating and taking the next steps and pushing themselves further than they've ever been, etc. But one of the biggest topics that we deal with all the time, it's in every conversation, is relationships. And inside relationships, there's a lot of questions of like, well, should this happen or should that happen? Or what about this? Or what about that? Well, and it just gets really like there's different scenarios for everything that happens. And it has to be driven more from a place of like certainty and feeling than anything else. We got somebody at the door, so give us 1 second. All right, and we're back. So, little interruption. But what I wanted to say is, in order to have a good, healthy, positive relationship, there is a minimum requirement of having your life kind of in order. And if there's anything out of order, that's what we help people do. We help them, figure out, well, what's the right thing? What's this? And there's so many questions that I get around, well, like it's almost like asking permission. Well, can I do that? And I'm like, of course you can do that, or this is what you can do. Like I'll often give a strong suggestion, but it's like, I mean, it's up to you, but why would you believe that you need to do this when you could do this? And just being honest. And then the honest communication about this is how I feel. There's so many times when people kind of get in their heads and they want to tell us about it. And it's like, well, how much of this did you tell your partner? And they're like, well, I said this. It's like, and so in other words, rather than telling them that, you gave them permission to do something just about like worse because you're not actually being honest about how you feel. So a lot of really cool stuff happens around relationships, very beneficial, a lot of advancements, people growing closer together. And, it's just in many ways, it's like, yeah, that is a good idea. And giving support, and it's weird. It's almost like permission, but it's not necessarily permission. Maybe it's even more just the space to think and consider the right things that need to happen. So been very fun and rewarding helping people through that.
Sometimes just talking about relationships, like we get so caught up in our heads with stories about what certain things are meaning, or a story about, well, maybe this person isn't right for me, or that we get caught up in so many stories that one thing I love is when people come to me or us with all their stories, kind of like debunking them
Yeah.
and showing them like some truth so we can move forward in like the actual direction that they want, because a lot of like we create stories that end relationships that don't need to end, right?
Yep.
And so just having people to talk to like us, or like having people to talk to that will remind you and show you the truth, so you can then create a new like reality in the experience, so you're not then you just don't end something good that doesn't need to end, or you don't, um I don't know, it's just so much goes on in my brain thinking about it, but I feel grateful that we get to help people see the truth.
I want to touch on that a little bit.
Touch on it, help us.
So the when you said that stories that people create that end relationships, this isn't, like one story comes in and it ends relationship. What happens is there's something that you're not happy about, and failure to express it in a healthy way turns into something else, right? So expressing it in an unhealthy way will result in more, like you'll reaffirm it based in the way you deliver it. So if somebody thinks, oh well, he or she doesn't care about, like me, type in general, And so then the person is thinking that, and rather than expressing the feeling of the, hey, I'm feeling like a loss of love, or you know hurt, or sad, or something to that degree, and being kind of vulnerable in the sense of like, this is my true feeling and I don't know what to do about it, and I'm just going to honestly and genuinely lay it out there to be talked about. Typically it will turn into something like, oh well, it's not like you care anyway, which is a fight starter, right? It's actually an attack. It's the pointing the finger. Well, it's not like you care anyway. It's not the expression, the vulnerable expression of like, this is genuinely where I'm at. And typically, when we genuinely show someone that actually loves us, even though you may create situations where it doesn't feel like it, the person wouldn't still be there if they didn't actually have some level of love.
I think the difference between genuinely sharing where you're at and genuinely sharing where you're at that starts fights is in the delivery of how you share genuinely where you're at, or what we think when we think we're sharing genuinely where we're at versus when we're judging the other person for not knowing where we're at, if that makes sense. So like I talk to a lot of women who, or people who, it's like, and I see this in myself too, and I know I don't do it as much, right? I don't know, where it's like, I have a feeling that comes in, and but my feeling is like, you don't love me, you don't do enough, you don't listen to me, I don't, you don't understand what I'm saying, you're judging me, and like those type of words. And it might be feel true that when I'm speaking like that, I am sharing genuinely where I'm at and what's coming up for me. But the reason that that kind of communication starts fights is because the whole finger is being pointed at the other person. Mm-hmm. You don't do this, you don't love me, you don't see me, you don't understand. Maybe you're just not the one for me and I think we should break up, right?
It usually escalates to some, because most I think most of the time people will, even if they have that thought, they'll be like, well, and they'll second guess it, but then it'll be in the back of their mind, and then they'll continue and continue, and then they'll create 3 or 4 or 10 or 20 or 100 more situations like that.
And I'm being like, what's the word that I'm being, where I'm
Facetious.
Facetious.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm being facetious. Rather than, so there's like that kind of like, I am expressing how I feel and he's still not listening, right? And I am being vulnerable because I am sharing with him. And it's like, if your man is reacting with pushback or anger, or like, or if he's saying, no, I do everything for you, if he's pushing back, you're not being truly vulnerable. And this is some training, I would say.
It is.
But where it's like, rather than pointing the finger, it's like, no, being truly vulnerable is expressing from here, like I feel sad, and I because I feel like we're not connecting, and when we don't connect, I'm reacting. I feel like I'm reacting to the things that you're doing, and I'm not really sure how to create a space of more connection with you or something like that. But it's just more like about true vulnerability, and getting what you want is putting your hand on your heart and expressing what's actually coming up for you without pointing the finger at them.
And without creating a bunch of stories to back up the feeling. Like that's one of the harder things to do, to go like, I have this feeling and I'm trying to explain the way I feel, and because I have this feeling, it must mean this, and this. And if you're in a triggered state, all those this, and this will be negatives, and it typically will come off as an attack.
Sometimes it's so much easier, though, honestly, and this is what Mac was saying at the beginning of this podcast. It's like when we're working with people inside the membership or working with people one on one, it's so much easier to help them create like the breakthroughs right then and there because they have like specific examples and stories.
Yep.
So we can actually just like dive into what's actually going on without really, because when we're on here just trying to pull like stuff out of thin air, sometimes it's kind of like, eh, but you can, and this is another reason why like it's difference between listening to a podcast or reading a book as opposed to being in a group or having somebody in your pocket as like your support person, because there's a difference between listening and learning and logically knowing, but then there's the part where you're actually embodying and doing what you're learning, and it's easier to embody when you are, talking specific, like diving into real life, your real life things that are happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I
I and I would have to say that one of the reasons why our relationship is very strong and getting stronger is that we don't like there's nothing that sits on the back of our mind of like a story or something of like, well, maybe this isn't right, or maybe this, or maybe that. Like it doesn't just sit back here. Like if something does come up, it's communicated, it's talked about, and then it gets put to bed. Even if it's like, even if it repeats in a similar way, it doesn't ever get the chance to just sit there and be hidden. And in past relationships that I personally have been in, they were just hidden. They were just like, well, I just need to do better. I just need to figure this out, solve the problem. It's all like it's my responsibility. Like I'm the over like I take more responsibility than I should in a sense. Like that sounds weird, but like I take full responsibility for everything, but taking responsibility for someone else's bad behavior is not a good thing, right? Like it's because I used to look at it like this. Well, maybe if I was showing up better, it wouldn't be happening. When the truth is, there's no reason for that shit to be happening, regardless of how someone else shows up. Like there's a standard that everybody should be held to for themselves, and so there's some things like that have to be true. And there are certain things for men that have to be true, certain things for women that have to be true. And when these standards are held, you get a much more connected, passionate type relationship. But I'm not going to go into the training or details of like those things because what happens is I can give you all the best information here and people will make assumptions of like, oh, well, I know how to do that. But yet you're fucking miserable. Like, no, that's the you to know and not to do is not to know. And also like what you don't know, you don't know. How would you know? And there's so many things every single day that we learn, that we go through, that we experience, that we advance on. There's more pressures put on that put strains in certain areas. Like it doesn't matter where you're at, but continue to be continually learning, growing, getting better, and moving forward is what drives our relationship closer and closer and closer.
That's what I actually love too, is that like we're on the journey too
Mm-hmm.
of growing in all of our quadrants,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Yeah.
we're on the journey of figuring out this whole relationship thing too.
Yep.
Um, so
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's fun.
yeah.
It's growth, it's fun, and every time we level up in any area, then it's like, okay, now we got to look at the other areas. What needs to level up? And then sometimes you start to level up in other areas, and then you kind of let one slide. It's like, oh shit, that's turning into a problem because and then you got to figure out, okay, well, how do you do this without actually creating more work, but actually do it easier? Because to me, I'll put it I'll give a little bit of a kind of a metaphor or a whatever for it. But a lot of times we think, well, if you want more money, work harder, right? But at some point, you wind up in a situation where you can't work any harder, or more money just sounds like more work,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So better relationship sounds like more work under those circumstances. Better body sounds like more work. better, more spirituality, more work. And the idea is not necessarily more work. Like, truly, if you really want to advance and be able to manifest and do all these different things, then the idea should not be more work. It should be less work, higher, better results. Right? That's, to me, that's the desire to go, okay, well, I might have to work more now to work less later. So if I find the highest, like, speaking of money, if I find the highest money making activity in the least amount of time, that will produce more money, less work. And eventually you invest, right? And if you invest wisely, pretty soon no work, more money. So one would reason that says, well, if that's true, like vibrationally, no work means more money. Well, then how do I get there? How do I practice this until I'm there? Because I have to work to make money. I have to do these different things. And it comes down to disciplines and things like that we won't get into right now. But a better relationship, it's like, well, okay, if we take the same thing, higher quality of quality, like, um, quality time matters, right? So how can you make quality time better? Then less time means higher impact. Not to say we want less time, because usually once you get like quality time, you want more of it, not less of it. So, but it's like the time going in, the higher quality the time going in is, the better the relationship is going to be. So it's not more work, it's less work, but higher intentionality. That intentionality comes through being better in the other areas of your life. Because if you have financial problems, body problems, things like that, it's just going to feel like more work. But when everything else is elevated, and then this quality time becomes higher connection, that higher connection fuels you to go out and do more. So it's even like it begins to have like a compound effect, like investing. And the body, it's kind of the similar thing. Like if you're upside down, you got to put in a lot of work to get things changed, or you could just look at your diet and actually do less, or sometimes more. But the idea isn't more pain, it's smarter, like smarter doing equals better results, less pain. So, but every time you grow, you should expect some level of pain. Just like if you work out, if you don't have some level of fatigue, then the muscles can't grow. They have no reason to grow. If your muscles can deal with any scenario you throw at it, then they don't need to grow. They will stay exactly where they're supposed to be. So if you want growth like we do, then you have to be willing to endure a little bit of pain, in a sense, even though I don't think it's necessarily pain. It's most usually like change, discomfort, things like that. Makes sense.
It does make sense. Hmm.
I know it does. It's rhetorical. So,
I would, I have just been thinking about that a lot too, is this desire for more while also being grateful for where we're at. Because I think that, and I've been calling it this walk of evolution, because we all, I think we're all on a journey of like personal growth and evolution and wanting more. But I think this lifelong journey of wanting more, somewhere in the back of our mind says like, not good enough now, right?
often, yeah.
And so I think it's not just a combination of having a desire for more, it's also being grateful for where you're at now. So it's both. You
Yep.
you need to have both. And so it's like, you have one foot firmly, put one foot firmly planted in gratitude for where you're at, while the other foot steps towards desire.
Mhm.
And then once that desire comes to fruition, then you plant in gratitude and step towards desire. So it's this constant like walk of evolution: gratitude, desire, gratitude, desire. And if you are not living in a space of gratitude and you have both feet up towards desire, you fall flat on your face,
Hmm.
because you are so working so hard for more without being having a foot planted in desire for where you're at, or I mean for gratitude for where you're at, right? And if you have both feet in gratitude, then you're just not moving. And that's okay, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes. But it's like if you are a person that has that desire for more, and you're constantly pushing to achieve more, 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 more. Um, if it's feeling like a constant never ending fall on your face struggle, it's because you don't have one foot firmly planted in gratitude while also moving towards the more, right?
Mhm.
So it's that walk for more. And I think that being in gratitude while striving for more is also being able to celebrate all of your wins, um like celebration in the name of gratitude, where it's like you're still being humble, if you will. But you are able to celebrate your wins and actually like be in the moments of that with one foot in desire, and it's just constant walk. That way you can actually enjoy the journey of the growth and evolution, as opposed to having both feet here, feeling like you're falling on your face, struggling all the time to make things work, or you're just sitting in gratitude not getting anything done. It's like, no, one foot firmly planted in gratitude, one foot walking, reaching towards desire, and then a constant like walk of evolution.
Mhm.
Do do
Yeah,
do.
and if for some chance you can't get in growth or gratitude, then it's like you have to start figuring out that where you're at, you need to be grateful for and just slow down. Like
Exactly. Well,
slow down, bring it back to ground zero, find things to be grateful for and start fixing the other things. There's your growth.
10 years ago, when I started my journey, I had a high desire for more, right? Um, and then even though when I say a high desire for more, I think a lot of us, when we think of more, we think of more of what we already have. No, like more as in like there's got to be more to life than this, right? So
Mhm.
I had high desire, and I think the reason I was struggling to to get more was because I had both feet in this desire, this I had them both up, and I was constantly falling on my face. And it wasn't until, like Mac just said, I slowed down and started focusing more on like self-love and gratitude now, and put one foot here while also here. That's when things really started to manifest in a much more smoother, easier way, right? Because and that's, I mean, even just putting my sticky notes up and focusing on, okay, I am a good mom, right? Like, like people, I am a good friend, these kind of things just like start changing my mindset. So it wasn't just all about what I don't have and this desire for more. It was like, no, like I actually have a lot and I want more. And once I got into that energy, then it just was like, I mean, it was still it's like an uphill walk. Sometimes you get knocked down, but you just keep moving forward in that. And it just makes the journey a lot easier, right?
Yep.
One foot
Mhm.
planted in desire and one foot stepping toward, or one foot, I mess up. One foot firmly planted in gratitude, one foot stepping towards desire, and then that's the walk. Do, 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 do.
Yep.
Sometimes you get knocked down, and that's why you need somebody like Mac to pick you up
Or kick you in the
or
ass.
kick you in the ass.
Mm. So, yeah,
But when you're in that space too, you see the thing. Like you can see things clearer, right? Because you're not just in this
yeah,
struggle falling on your face. Like you actually see the things, and it's like
gratitude's also a very high vibration as
gratitude.
desire.
That's why it works.
Mhm.
Because gratitude does put you in like a high vibration, gratitude and appreciation. And and that all comes down to like what are you focusing on?
Are you
So
focusing on the problems or well, so sometimes you have to put some attention on a problem to fix it. but the all the attention should never be put on a problem. So, but to get out of the training part of telling you how to resolve your life problems and everything else, but I just kind of move a little bit to the side of either you're listening to this at this point and you're kind of going, yeah, this is like it's making you think of things different. It's reminding you of things you've already known, things like that. But at this point, if you're still listening, it's either you're nodding with us or you're looking for something. You're wanting to raise your life in some area. You want some growth or you want a correction. You maybe you want to fix a relationship. Maybe you want to increase your income and become an investor, become wealth, create residual income. Maybe you have a body issue that you're trying to deal with or handle. And one thing that I want to make very aware is just by listening to information will not fix your problems. It will help you manifest solutions to your problems, but at some point you have to take action. At some point, you've got to kind of jump all in. And from my own personal experience, being in something like a membership changes who you are. It creates better results. So there's certain things that I do that every time I do them, every week when I'm on one of the calls that I attend, every quarter when I attend a quarterly event, other events like a Tony Robbins event, things like that. All these things have been massively important in my ability to level up, achieve, or increase one of those quadrants of my life nonstop. I do things weekly to do this. I sometimes daily, sometimes quarterly. It can depend, and I'm not necessarily perfect at it, but I am going to give you a little bit of a call out to say like, hey, if you're not in our membership and you're listening at this point, you should be in the membership. Otherwise, like, why are you listening? It doesn't. Those two things don't make sense to me. So if you are, thank you. Hope you enjoyed the podcast.
Hello.
Yeah. But if you're not, and you're kind of asking the question of, well, what is this? Can it benefit me? Well, okay, I'll make you a deal. Reach out, have the conversation, and ask that question. Can this benefit me? And if it's like questionable after we have a conversation, we'll say, why don't you come in, make some level of a commitment to us and yourself so that you're not just doing the free thing, which is useless, and get in and actually start using and embodying some of the content and the training and the teaching. Get some one-on-one time with each one of us. And if you don't see what's happening in your life at that point, go away. Just go away, because I mean it happens. We hear it, we see people get amazing things in their life, like they start talking to us for 1 month to 3 months and things just dramatically start to change and they're like, oh, I've got this. And then from there over, you typically the next 6 months, maybe a year on a long term, shit just it falls apart. Some of them come running back, in which case we're like, thank you, like, yep, come on back, like, no problem. Now you can clearly see, so it's all great. But I mean, if that's who you are, then you'll come, you'll go somewhere else, and that's fine. But when you begin to embody it, I think what you'll find is like your life gets better, your relationship gets better, your finances get better, everything gets better. Like I have a rule that you cannot be around me and your life not get better. And that rule stands for her as well. Like I watch when people are around her, bless,
Thank you.
life life gets better. So we're two people that serve, that just being in the presence around us. This is not arrogance. This is just results. Like we hold a standard. We're good people at heart, and we want people's lives to increase. So we are driven to figure out how to help, and that's what we do. So if you have that desire, then we're right here. So,
Yes, you can find us on Facebook, right?
mhm.
I'm Jen Lockhart Grant on Facebook, and this is Mac, MAC without a K, Grant. This is my current husband. I'm just kidding. You can find us both on Facebook and reach out, and we can see if stepping in, I guess, is right for you, right?
Yeah, you probably maybe put a link in it.
What? A link.
in the like.
Oh yeah,
Can you do that?
there's a link on I think on the description of this, but I'm not sure if it's clickable. Like
That
IT is not the
best thing is just DM us, like send us a message saying like, hey, if if you're a woman, you'll probably get a hold of Jen. If you're a guy, get a hold of me and say, hey, I want to know more about what you're doing, and we can set up a call, and I can kind of figure out like, well, what are you dealing with? What do things look like, and what do you actually want the outcome of this to be? And so we can talk. All right.
Yay. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, thanks for listening.
Have a great day.
Bye.